Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to Sister Wives with Mary Jane K. I know they say curiosity killed the cat, but last episode, after seeing the glass of red wine next to Kody and the champagne flute next to Christine at their romantic dinner on their family trip to Vegas, I did a little research, watching back a couple scenes that stuck out in my mind. I wondered, do the wives and Kody drink or don't they? Is alcohol forbidden in the FLDS faith? Is it an optional tenet of the faith? So I went back and checked out some scenes that stuck out in my mind to satiate my curiosity and to find the answers. I noticed in the last episode, Kody was drinking a glass of red wine with dinner. And I recall Kody on many occasions saying his faith doesn't allow drinking. And I recalled him fussing over the fact that there would be drinking at Aspen's wedding. And he said something to Logan, who was having what looked to be whiskey, or maybe it was a scotch, at Aspen's wedding. I recalled a scene when his wife supposedly tried beer and they said it was off limits in their religion. So they were just tasting it and Robin refused to partake. So I went back to certain episodes, like Aspen's wedding episode, the episode where they pick Aspen's wedding venue, the episode where Kody rides with his brothers to the oldest bar in Vegas, the episodes where the ladies visit Hannah in Seattle, and the episode where the wives take a road trip to San Francisco to find dresses for the commitment ceremony. And I watched those scenes to see what Kody and the wives say about alcohol in regards to the faith, and to see if I caught the wives or Kody drinking in other episodes. If the faith doesn't allow drinking, but Kody drinks, it's no problem if he's more lenient. And the same goes for the wives. I see no problem whatsoever with having a glass of wine with dinner or whatever alcohol of your choice you prefer. But Kody says it's forbidden. And he says over the seasons, he doesn't condone drinking. But here we see him clearly with a glass of red wine. If Kody drinks occasionally, his words should match his actions, and he should be honest with it and say he drinks on rare occasions. Even though it's completely off limits in his faith, why say you don't drink according to your faith and then do it on camera? It removes one's credibility and it makes them seem hypocritical. So let's go back to when he mentions there will be no alcohol at his bachelor party or at his wedding to Robin, or his talk on alcohol when planning Aspen's wedding. And Aspen's wedding itself, the comment he made to Logan when he had a drink at Aspen's wedding, and when he went to the bar with his brothers and had water in a later season. And let's see if Kody's actions match his words and if his wives ever break the rules. Let's look at what the sister wives say when they try beer, supposedly for the first time for some of them in San Francisco. I'll recount these scenes and let's see if Kody's words and actions are aligned, and let's see what the wives say and do. Again, even if drinking is off limits with the faith, if Kody has the occasional drink, it's his personal choice, and I see nothing wrong with it at all, and the same goes for his wives. What I take issue with is saying one thing and doing another. And a viewer said of Kody's drinking, Kody does what he can get away with, and I believe that to be true. But why not just be honest and let your words match your actions? It's okay to drink, even if the faith says it's a no-no. It's okay to choose for yourself. But if words don't match one's actions, one loses credibility and they come across as hypocritical. And isn't honesty part of the high morals and ethics that come with the faith? Or should one do what they can get away with while saying the opposite? So let's begin at Kody's bachelor party. Kody says there were no dancing girls and there was no beer regarding the bachelor party. Next, at Robin's wedding, there was no alcohol. At Aspen's wedding, Logan is having an alcoholic beverage and Kody walks up to his table and asks, "You're drinking the gasoline there, are you?" And Logan responds, "You want to drink some gasoline?" And Kody responds, "I don't." There is an episode where Kody, Scott, and his brother Curtis take a motorcycle ride to the oldest bar in Vegas. And they walk in and Kody says he's totally out of his element here. He says the bar was really cool and Curtis was totally in his element, but he's just going to have water. Curtis and Erica drink a little. They're Christians, Kody says. And he says in his faith, they don't consume alcoholic beverages. And they shouldn't be in a place where they consume alcoholic beverages, but he is comfortable with this. But he did consume alcoholic beverages. In this episode, he had a glass of red wine. Kody says his brother Scott abides by every rule, but he spent his whole life bending them. But he says they don't consume alcohol. and here he gets a water. But before this, in season 2, he had a red wine. So in his faith, it's not condoned. He had a red wine, even though he says he doesn't drink alcohol because it's not allowed for his faith. And Christine had a flute of champagne. Maybe Kody thought no one would notice, or maybe he didn't care. When planning Aspen's wedding, Kody says he has a really hard time with hard alcohol at weddings. He doesn't mind beer and he doesn't mind wine being served, but he tells Aspen and Mitch he doesn't like drunks. Aspen explains it's important to her to have an open bar at the wedding, and she wants people to feel free to drink if they want to, and she wants champagne toasts. And we know the adult brown kids drink, and they should if they want to, 100%. But for Kody, he says it's forbidden in his faith, and he says he doesn't drink. Yet he has wine on camera, and Christine has champagne, and she also drinks later on. So there's no issue with drinking, in my opinion, even if it's against the faith, if they're comfortable with it. But my take is, if you say it's against the faith and you don't ever do it, and you have high morals and ethics, and you abide by your faith, and your whole lifestyle revolves around following your faith, and that's the reason for it, how are you drinking on camera? It feels hypocritical. It's one thing to say my faith doesn't allow alcohol, but occasionally I have a drink, or the wives and I have an occasional drink. But be honest about it, because otherwise it makes everyone seem less credible, especially Kody. Aspen says people aren't going to get crazy at the wedding, but she just wants drinking to be an option, and she wants champagne toasts. Mitch lets Kody know most of the people who are attending won't drink, and Kody says good. Janelle says the people who come to the reception, if they are practicing LDS or practicing fundamentalist Mormons, are probably not going to have a drink. Kody jokes they can charge double for the booze and pocket that money to pay for the wedding. I know he's joking, obviously, but there are those high ethics and morals cropping up again. Christine is mortified. She says to Kody it's a horrible idea. She doesn't want Aspen to ever get wind of what Kody joked about. And Kody says it's a good idea. He says the wives can kill the idea if they want, and Christine says it's killed. In the episode where the wives go to Seattle, it looks like Christine has a beer, and it may be iced tea, but there's no straw or ice cubes, and there's a little bit of foam. And then at lunch with Hannah, it looks like some of the wives, Christine and Mary in particular, have alcoholic beverages. There's also another episode where the wives order different drinks and try them, saying they rarely drink. The wives take a trip to San Francisco to look for dresses for the commitment ceremony. At one meal, Janelle has a white wine, and the wives go to an Irish pub. And Mary says Kendra, their friend, has a big surprise for them. Christine thinks she was excited to take them to a pub because they, as polygamists, had never been to a pub before. Mary asks Robin if she will judge them if they drink a beer. And Robin says no, they can do whatever they want. Janelle doesn't generally like beer, but since they're at an Irish pub, she'll give it a go. Mary asks, you want to experience it? Christine says it's really against our religion to drink alcohol. It just is. And so for that reason, she's just going to try it. She's just going to sip it. But let's keep in mind, she had champagne at dinner in season 2, and she had drinks at lunch with Hannah in Seattle. Mary says she thought they'd bring out a mug of Irish beer, and they brought this whole tray of this nice array of beers. Christine says they brought all of them full, huge glasses of beer, and she was like, we just need one glass. We're just going to take a little sip. Robin refused to cheers with everyone or to even take a sip. Christine says, we're going to a pub, and naturally the question immediately comes up, are you going to drink? After Christine tried her beer, she tried a sip of someone else's too. And she says she doesn't mind tasting some alcohol because usually she finds it absolutely horrible. Robin says they're not going to drink the whole thing, it's just a taste. Mary says she could get happy off of just smelling it. Robin says Kody isn't going to sit here and have a problem if they take a sip of the local culture. Christine seems to like the Guinness, saying it's much better. Janelle says, besides, Kody doesn't control her. He doesn't control them. He's their husband. He's not their overseer or something. Robin says, no, but he is your husband. And Janelle says, it's not like he tries to control. That's her point. He doesn't try to tell her what to do. He's not that kind of guy. That aged like milk. So do the wives drink? It seems they do on occasion. Does Kody drink on occasion? It seems so. So just say you do. When the women went to the pub in San Francisco, they said they were just tasting it. By the time they visited Seattle a few seasons later, some of the wives were openly drinking with their meals. Janelle had a white wine, and the women had what looked like strawberry margaritas, and Christine in one scene looked to be drinking a beer in a glass, and maybe it was iced tea, but again, there was no ice and no straw and some white foam on top, and that's all totally fine. But Kody said initially he didn't drink and his wives didn't drink. So why not just be honest? Say it's forbidden completely, but on rare occasions we drink. No one in the world would bat an eye, and viewers would appreciate the honesty. Kody and Robin especially tout the high morals and ethics of the faith. And it's fine to drink, in my opinion, even if your religion says it's wrong. If you occasionally drink and you don't have a serious addiction or drinking problem, which obviously they don't, just say we rarely drink on occasion. So when it's on camera, it doesn't seem like you're saying one thing and doing another. Is it high ethics and morals to not be honest about what you do and don't abide by and then do it blatantly on camera, saying you don't do it and it's forbidden in your religion? It would be more ethical to just say it like it is. But again, I want to stress there is absolutely nothing wrong with having a drink. It's just abiding by a faith that doesn't allow it and then saying you don't do it and then doing it on camera, I find hypocritical. To be fair, Robin didn't drink, and I want to point that out. And I don't take issue at all with any of the wives drinking, with them trying a beer, with Kody drinking, but they drink mixed drinks. They drink out with meals. They drink. So just be open with it. No one will judge them. It's worse to say something is off limits faith-wise, and you say you abide by that tenet, and then you drink on camera. That's why it's always best that a person's words and actions match, because then you don't have this issue of getting caught out on camera. That does it for the bonus episode of Sister Wives with Mary Jane K. To my YouTube viewers, please like, subscribe, and tell me your thoughts down below in the comment box. See you next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.